The theme for April is losing with pride. Beautiful.
Losing with pride, you say?
Mm.
So you're talking like actually playing hard, playing as close to a full 60 as possible, and actually trying to win and not just throwing in the towel.
Yeah. Well, I mean, as a Flames fan, we're not used to seeing 60 minutes worth of effort from our team, so it
That's why I
wasn't
phrased it
foreign.
like I did.
Yeah. Yeah, it may feel foreign. Some people think it's because of the losing. It's the fact that we can actually get some effort from, you know, 30-40% of the team for a 60-minute stint at a time, you think?
Sometimes,
Mhm.
depending on the game.
Yeah.
For instance, in
Yeah.
the Edmonton game, I thought I'd say probably about 95% of the team played their hearts out the entire game and played super well. You know,
Mhm.
grounded down right till the end. They wanted to win that game really bad. They honestly outplayed the shit out of the Oilers for most of the game, and just got outskilled. And that's what a tanking team should do, right? The
That's right.
tanking shouldn't come from the team. The tanking should come from management, right? You don't want your coach to tank. You don't want your um, players to tank. You just want the team to naturally lose at this point
Yeah.
because of draft picks, trying to get a higher draft pick. You want your team to naturally lose because of a lack of talent, not because of a lack of try.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah, that the lack of talent thing, you can draft that and build it, and they can grow as a group together. And that talent and ability will increase year after year. But as long as the effort's there consistently, right? I mean, I'm not talking like, you know, effort for a game, no effort for two, but it's got to be consistent.
Yeah.
Consistent effort for as much of a full game as you can possibly muster. They're
Yeah.
getting paid a lot of money to play a game, so let's let's go. And these guys should be still playing for ice time. They should be playing for whether or not they're even going to be on the Flames next year, whatever the case may be, right?
For
They're
a
gonna.
contract, you know, if they're looking to get out, they should be playing hard so other teams want them,
Yeah.
all that type of stuff. And, like I said, in Edmonton, I thought all of them did. In Anaheim, fucking 20% of them did, maybe.
Mhm.
And that's being pretty nice, I think, honestly.
I think that is being nice. Yeah, that was garbage effort, and Huska kind of made examples of people out of it, and that's good.
Yeah.
Show them it's not going to be tolerated.
Yeah. Now, was wasn't Anaheim the game Zary was um scratched, or was that a different game? I can't remember.
Hmm. Was that?
It could have been Winnipeg. Either
I
way,
I feel like it was Winnipeg, right? Because he came back and played
in
really well against Edmonton.
yeah, and a lot of the fans, were really angry at Huska for scratching Zary. Play the kids, play the kids, play the kids. But you've also got to have integrity within your lineup. And
Mhm.
Zary, even though I think he's been one of our best forwards for the vast majority of the season, I also think the last few games he's had a pretty rough go of it up until the
Mhm.
Edmonton game. Um, and with young players, often, the schedule is a lot harder than it is in the AHL. And young players often just need a break and need to sit upstairs with management and, you know, have some things pointed out to them. And he came back and played really, really well. And he responded. That's what you
Mhm.
want. How many players have we had in the past that have been scratched for various reasons and haven't come back and played well.
Yeah.
That is such a good sign that Zary came back and played that well.
Yeah, if you can learn from, from an ousting like that, you being singled out, healthy scratch, that sort of thing. If you can learn from that and come back and actually put in your effort, awesome. That's exactly in my mind what that's intended to do.
Yeah.
And I know you and I bury a little bit on Zari. I think he has not been very good at all for about a month.
Yeah, no, that's about right.
He's been invisible out there, which, whatever the reason is,
Since
right?
he came back from that injury.
Yeah, I've noticed some lack of effort. I've noticed just some poor decision making, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
Um, hopefully after having a decent game on Saturday against Edmonton, he can keep going forward with it and build on it and keep progressing his ability in his career.
I totally agree. I think he's got a ton of potential. Maybe not, you know, superstar potential, but every once in a while you see superstar potential, but
Mhm.
you never know. That would be absolutely amazing if he does. Um,
Yeah.
Now, I don't know how much of that game you caught because you've had a lot of shit going on lately, but so they plugged Zari into center, and they
Mhm.
actually left him there for the whole game against Edmonton.
Yeah.
Um, how much of that did you catch, and were you paying much attention to it?
Um, I, I caught it. I thought he played really well. I liked his positioning. Um, it was it was it was good. I can't. Um, who was he lined up with though? Do you remember?
Hunt and Huberdeau.
It was Hunt and Huberdeau, wasn't it? Yeah, you're right. Yeah. Okay. Okay. I mean,
So
they didn't get any points or anything like that, which is fine. Um, but they were good. I haven't been super impressed with Hunt lately.
I was really impressed with him that game. And
Yeah.
he's had some really good games, but it has been a while. I think he was also scratched for a little bit, but
Mhm.
you're right. He had a couple games, maybe a month and a half ago where he popped pretty good and he looked really good.
Mhm.
But I mean, let's be honest. On a good team, Hunt is not playing with Huberto.
No, definitely not.
Hunt's a fourth liner on a good team, maybe even a 13th forward on a good team. And I
Yeah.
don't mind him, but he's not supposed to be there. But I still think that line was really good. I just want to, before we talk about the line, though, I just want to go back to the Zary at center thing.
Mhm.
So, in my opinion, an NHL level center needs three things: really high hockey IQ, good defensive positioning, and the ability to win faceoffs. Is that
Yep.
fair?
Yep. I can. Yeah, I would add add maybe one or two things to it, but I mean I would definitely agree with you.
Okay. I think out of those three things, he's got two of them in spades. I think he's a very, very smart player when he's on. He is
Mhm.
extremely smart. He's got a ton of hockey IQ. I think his defensive positioning is really, really good for a player his age,
Yep.
a rookie specifically. Um, he's got to work on the faceoffs. Don't get me wrong.
Of course.
Uh,
Yeah, and as you would expect.
yeah, as you would expect, especially since he hasn't played a whole lot of center throughout his pro career. He was kind of in and out of center in the AHL and hasn't
Mhm.
played center more than a period, I think, in the NHL.
Yeah.
So, um, you'd expect him to need to work on his faceoffs, but I think he's got the potential to be a top six center in the NHL full time if he can work on faceoffs and get better at them.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I mean, that whole game against the Oilers, the only center that was above 50% was Michael Backlund at 53.8. Everybody else was below 50. You know,
Yeah.
Zary at 33, Kadri at 47, Rooney at 40. So I mean, he was kind of right there with them. Obviously, he was the lowest one of the group, but you know, his first time in the NHL at center, I wouldn't expect it to be much higher than that.
No. And I mean, he was playing against. I think they were matched up mostly against the bottom six. I could be wrong, and Derek Ryan is a face-off guy.
Mm-hmm.
There's a couple guys that are face-off guys there in Edmonton, and honestly, McDavid isn't a face-off guy, and Backlund was facing off against McDavid. However, I did want to point this out, getting back to the line of Huberdeau, Hunt, and Sharangovich. Sorry, Huberdeau, Hunt, and Zary. So they had over 95% possession in the first period, which is fucking absurd. Like, that's especially for a line that's never played together. That's next level stuff, right? Again, like you said, they didn't get any points, and that's too bad. But the way they worked and the way they worked together, the instant chemistry they had, they got a lot of high danger opportunities. Maybe if Sharangovich or Kuzmenko or someone can slot onto that line instead of Hunt, somebody who's a little bit more, got more of a finishing touch or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And they can also do the work that Hunt can do, that would be nice. But they also had Edmonton hemmed in their own zone for almost 3.5 minutes. I think
that was good.
I think they had about 2.5 of those minutes, and there was a line change somewhere in the middle of that. But for the for the majority of that 3.5 minutes, Edmonton was hemmed in their own zone. It was, forgive me for saying, comparing it to Canucks. I'll probably get shit on for this, but it was like a Sedin level cycle in the offensive zone between the three of them, and it was just tiring the absolute shit out of Edmonton, and they kept getting high danger opportunities, and for some reason Pickard just wouldn't let them have anything. So
he played well.
And the Flames, and that was in the second period, so that wasn't even during the first period where they had 95, or I think it was like 96 or something percent possession. So they really impressed me. I really enjoyed watching that line, and I actually really enjoyed watching that game. That game was one of the best games, if not the best game, I think they've played all season. From a try standpoint, from a give a fuck standpoint, and from a pure entertainment standpoint, honestly. You can tell it's going to be a good game when the first stoppage in play includes Evander Kane on the ground and Rasmus Anderson standing over him, like,
Yeah,
everybody in the league except for Edmonton fans like that.
Anytime Kane can be put in his place is a good day, right?
Mm-hmm.
If you're able to keep him not as lippy for a couple of minutes, I think you've done your job.
Exactly.
Yeah, I mean, I appreciated the line and what they were able to do. I personally would rather have Sharangovich on the wing opposed to Hunt. I mean, I don't think Hunt has any business being above the third line.
I don't either. And Sharangovich and Huberdeau have some chemistry together as well.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, and they show it. They show it in the Well, that's right, and they show their chemistry on the power play, which at least they get time together there. But which, oddly enough, Sharangovich scored off a pass. Huberdeau got an assist on it. So
nice one-timer. And that's the thing. Like, we've got two guys who actually shoot one-timers for the first time since Iginla and Glencross, maybe.
Yes.
Like,
Yeah. Yeah, which is weird, right? Because yeah, you play against your divisional rival, your provincial rival, and you don't put your two best shooters with your best playmaker. So I don't know. I think that's weird. I don't understand why Huska put Hunt on the top line personally, but it is what it is. Like he's just trying things out at this point. Seeing who's going to have chemistry with who. I get it, but I think there's certain games that you want to have your most potent offense ability to be playing together.
absolutely. And like, I don't think Hunt's been bad. You know, he doesn't have the skill. I think he's worked hard
Mm-hmm.
in pretty much every game he's played this season. So I get, if you're trying to preach deserving ice time, I get it. But
Yeah,
I agree with you. Like, both Sharangovich and Kuzmenko both deserve ice time, and they're getting it. But they should be with, the team's smartest center probably, and the team's best in theory playmaker, right? Like, it
yeah,
just makes sense, especially when they're playing that well together and showing chemistry. And having somebody who likes to shoot on that line would just be icing on the cake.
yeah. No, for sure. And I mean, at the end of the day, Hunt only saw 12 and a half minutes worth of ice time.
Yeah,
So it's not like he was playing with them, every step of the way. But Huberdeau was just shy of 17 minutes and Zary
there was a
16 and a
lot of
half.
power plays,
Yeah,
a
yeah.
lot of power play, and a little bit of 4-on-4, I believe. So that's probably the difference there. Um,
Hmm. Yeah, no, for sure. And
yeah,
then, so at least you get your Sharangovich at over 21 minutes and your Kuzmenko at 17 and a half, right? So they actually played more minutes than anybody on our top line. So
how
but
have you thought of the power play in the last, or what have you thought of the power play? Sorry, in the last 10
they
games.
they they still have an issue with trying to create the perfect play.
Yeah,
Um, but we at
and
least
going
have
for you.
shooters now, right?
Yeah.
We at least have a couple of guys that are willing to shoot the puck.
Hmm.
And for whatever reason, like Anderson needs to quit shooting the puck. I don't know. I don't know what's going on with him this year, but he's having a bad year.
He's not
It's really
having.
frustrating to watch because he's better than what he's been.
I have
So
a hot take. I've actually
yeah.
been crapped on a little bit for this take in the last little while by my buddy Kyle, but I'm curious what you're thinking of. What you think of this?
Hold on, I get the smash the like button or
Yeah,
scroll
yeah,
across the bottom because this is going to be a hot take. Give it
yeah.
to us, Dylan.
So Rasmus Anderson was playing really, really well a couple years ago, and then last year he played well right up until he got hit by a car, and then he
Yeah,
came back, and then he hasn't been the same since.
which is
And
weird, right?
I
I mean, he
don't.
didn't even he
What's
didn't
that?
even like. I don't even think he spent the night in the hospital or anything for it, right? So it wasn't like
He
an
took time, took
injury.
a couple games off though,
Yeah,
and
mental, right? He was very
that's what I'm
mentally weak at
saying.
that moment, which is weird.
Yeah, I don't think it's like an injury he's nursing. I think it's the way he plays is different because that shit affects you mentally, right? And whether it's you know second guessing your actions or whatever,
Mm,
I think that might have something to do with it. Now, I'm not going to say it's all because he got hit by a car a year and a bit ago, right? It's
right.
obviously not all, but I think that there's at least a portion of it that his head isn't right from that accident.
Yeah, I mean, I mean, you got to it's got to be something, right?
Yeah,
Because it was right around that time where it seemed to be a flip of a switch, and and he's just been a shell of the player that he was 2 seasons ago.
which is too bad because I mean
Mm,
he's still one of my favorite players on the team, right? Like I love like when
yeah.
he's on, and he's had a couple of good games, but that's
Yeah.
in a full season now, right? So that's not nearly good enough. But when he's on, he is lippy. He's a
Hmm.
pest. He's physical. He shoots. He's good defensively. He pinches well. He
Hmm.
joins the rush. He does everything you want a defenseman to do,
Yeah.
right? When he's right, and we haven't seen him right for a year.
Yeah, like offensively is one thing. His defense has just been
His defense has
it's
been brutal this year.
yeah, it's been a huge concern.
Yeah. Now, another thing I wanted to ask you: do you think that part of it is ice time? Because especially since Hannafin and Tanev left, I mean his ice is ridiculous.
Yeah, 23, 24. I I don't
Yeah. Okay.
um
Fair enough.
because you know those those players are less than a month ago they were on the team,
Yeah.
and he's been bad all year.
And he's been bad all
Yeah.
year, and for the
Yeah.
last little bit of last year too, right? So
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah, if it was a new thing, then absolutely, that makes sense, right? But for me, it's been going on way too long for that to
yeah.
be a factor in it.
And if
I
you
mean,
track it back, it is right around that time of the accident where he stopped
it,
playing well, or at
yeah,
least to his regular capabilities. And I do remember last year, at I can't remember if it was at the end of the year or like towards the end of the year, but I remember media scrum talking about that he was still sore, like even though he was playing, he was still sore from it because
mhm,
of his back or whatever. I'm sure all that's been fixed over the summer and all that. But that's
yeah.
just my hot take on the whole situation. Like,
How
not that it's the only reason, but that it's a part of the reason.
I wonder if the conversation on the sore back and blah blah blah, and I wonder if that had anything to do with an ongoing litigation that was taking place from that situation.
Oh, it could have been. Who knows?
Speculation.
Yeah,
Speaking of ice time, so yes, he has had his ice time increased by a minute or two
yeah,
since they left. He's nowhere near Mackenzie Weegar.
no,
Mackenzie Weegar played 30 minutes on Saturday against Edmonton,
yeah,
29-51.
and played pretty freaking well too. He's been
Right?
he's been
Yeah.
so good this year, and I don't just mean the goals. Um, I'll say it
Defensively, he's
once,
been
or I've said it
way
once,
better.
say it again. I didn't hang it up today, but he reminds me of TJ Brody, except with way more confidence and
Mhm.
physicality.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, 26-44 against the Jets, 28 against Anaheim,
Yeah,
28-05. Like his minutes have gone through the roof, and it hasn't. I think he's even gotten better.
yeah, no, I totally agree. I love Uyghur. I'm happy we got him in that trade. I know that it sucks that Huberdeau is not producing like he should, but I
Mhm.
think we got way more than we expected from Uyghur. I mean,
Mhm.
if you go back and listen to our episodes from around that time of that trade, um, like obviously being excited for Huberdeau was a thing, but also like I remembered that Uyghur played like the year that Florida won the President's Trophy. Ekblad was injured for quite a few games, and
Yeah.
Florida didn't skip a beat because Uyghur just stepped in there and became that player, right?
Yeah.
And then he had kind of a rocky start to his time in Calgary for the first, just maybe a little bit more than half a season. And since then, he's been great. I can't believe it took 70 games to put him on power play 1.
No.
He has been the best offensive power play guy, the best offensive defenseman we have had all season. And it's not even been close.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
They've waited 70 games to put him on there full time. It blows my mind.
Yeah, nobody ever said the coaches that come and go out of the Calgary box have been super intelligent for stuff like that.
No, and it's so weird how certain things like a shitty power play that just passes around the perimeter and doesn't shoot the puck much or try and get traffic goes through 5 different power play coaches and 4 different head coaches and 2 different full cores of the team. How does that stuff continuously happen for 15 fucking years? It makes no sense.
It makes no sense.
Hockey games move fast. But with DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NHL, you can score faster than anything happening on the ice. This week, new customers can bet $5 and get $200 in bonus bets. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app with code THPN. New customers bet just $5 on the NHL and get $200 instantly in bonus bets. Only on DraftKings Sportsbook with code THPN. The crown is yours. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit www.1800gambler.net. In New York, call 8778-HOPE-NY or text HOPE NY 467369. In Connecticut, help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. Please play responsibly on behalf of Boot Hill Casino Resort in Kansas. 21 plus age varies by jurisdiction. Void in Ontario. Bonus bets expire 168 hours after issuance. See dkng.com/hockey for eligibility and deposit restrictions, terms, and responsible gaming resources. NHL and the NHL Shield are registered trademarks of the National Hockey League. Copyright NHL 2024. All rights reserved.
But I wanted to talk to you about that power play, actually. Have you noticed that they do this thing where there's 2 of them behind the net, not behind the net, but there's Kuzmenko on one side, to one side of the trapezoid, and then there's Huberdeau to the other side of the trapezoid, and then they fuck around with the puck until the guys out front get open, and then they pass it over to them. That's how they've been scoring. That's
out front. Is that code for Sharangovich?
Weird.
You just said the guy out front. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's kind of a cool little thing that they're doing, and because they're both very creative with the puck, so I think give them that opportunity to see what they can do with their offense, right? See what they can do with their creativity and create plays and create chances, and I still want to see them get the puck to the point for shots a little more, but that'll come, right?
I think another thing that actually works is that when there are point shots that miss or that go off the blocker,
yeah,
where's the puck going? Behind the goalie, right?
Yeah.
Not in the net, but behind, where those 2 guys are. So there's guys there for rebounds, which has been a problem that you and I have had with the power play for years, right?
Yeah.
So it's interesting, and it's worked out for the last few games. We scored. I think I can't remember exactly, but I think we've scored a power play goal in a few games straight now for the first time this season, which is amazing. I mean, it
is, right?
It's a pretty normal thing for most teams, but for us, it's amazing.
Yeah, I mean, we've scored a power play, at least one every game so far in April.
Yep.
So I mean that's impressive, because I mean when was it like beginning of March or mid-March? That was just we were at what 14.8% in the power play. That's
Yeah,
insane.
and I just want to call out a couple of other shitty teams because, like, how is 14.8 30th or 29th in the league and not
Yeah,
32nd in the league? Like, you have to be pretty fucking bad to be worse than us at the power play.
absolutely.
Um,
So
you want to talk about Sharangovich for a little bit?
sure, setting
So,
records, right?
setting records, hit 30 goals. So, that's just awesome in the first place, considering what so many people thought of the trade in the first place when it came to Toffoli for a third in Sharangovich, and people lost their shit and said fire Conroy, and it turns out that Sharangovich is basically younger Toffoli with more speed.
Yeah,
And we got a third round pick out of it and more term and probably cheaper in the long run. So that's awesome.
yeah, it is awesome, right?
So that 30 goals, Sharangovich passes Mikhail Grabovski of the Leafs years ago for now being the highest season-long goal scorer among Belarusian players. And I think he's only 2 or 3 points away from being. I can't remember who it is. I don't know if it's also Grabovski, but I think he's only 2 or 3 points away from passing the point mark for Belarusian players as well.
Really?
Yeah.
I would think it would have to be him. But yeah, no, that's cool. I didn't realize that about the points. I knew about the goal total. I mean, the kid's been a stud ever since he got here. Really. I mean, once he figured out the system, so it took him, a good month, right? Month, maybe 6 weeks. Once he figured all that out, he's been great.
Yeah.
And he just keeps advancing in the line, getting more ice time, and once they put him with Huberdeau, and he could actually start showing what he's got for a shot, which is deadly, by the way. His release is unreal.
His release is unreal, and it's super, super sneaky a lot of the time. He's kind of got he's got a wicked one timer, and his wrist shot he kind of drags it back, like almost not quite, but almost to how, say, Matthews or Bedard or someone like that does. Not quite like that, but he's got kind of the same style, which is pretty good.
Yeah.
I don't think he's that skilled, but he's got a similar wrist shot.
Yeah, no, but I mean, he's super skilled when he shoots. He's very defensive. He's responsible defensively, big time. And he just seems like such a likable guy, right?
Yeah.
I'm excited for him every time he gets himself on the scoreboard. When it comes after a shot, like he's pumped every time, even in a nothing game. I'm just excited for him as a person.
Oh, totally. And he seems like a super likable guy. Like, he's hard to understand and all that type of stuff, but he seems like a super likable guy. So I just pulled it up. He's got 56 points, and Grabovski in 2011 had 58. So he's only 2 points off with what do we have? 6 games left. So he'll probably get that. And
that'd be cool.
And where is he? He's got 162 career points. So he's only 134 points off of Grabovski's 295 career long points. So if he plays another 5-6 years, he'll probably get that too.
Totally. Yeah. I think, yeah, I think he would be able to do that well before 5, 6 years, but another,
230 points. Yeah, yeah,
yeah.
probably.
I mean,
Probably
that'd
probably
be 2.5 years, right? Based on his past, at least since he's been here, anyways, right? I mean, he did have his, I guess his lowest, he got 30 points twice, right?
yeah,
In Jersey.
yeah. So there you
So
go.
yeah, that's cool. I like
Impressive
it.
stuff.
Yeah.
So I think we talked about this maybe a month ago or something, but let's bring it up again. Sharangovich is extension eligible starting this July 1st. He's still signed for another year. For some reason I'm spacing on his contract right now, but I'll bring it up.
I got it here.
Yeah, what is it?
So 3.1 for the next, for next year.
Yeah.
This year.
So he's eligible for an extension. I don't want to see him traded.
I don't either.
Kuzmenko, I'm still very much on the fence about. I like Kuzmenko, but I don't
Okay.
know if trading or trying to extend is a better idea for him. But as far as Sharangovich is concerned, I'd much rather have him locked up for 5-6 years.
Mm-hmm.
What are you thinking?
I would be comfortable with that. That's what I've been saying for pretty much the entire season, that when it comes to us trading away our UFAs and trying to build for the future, I said at the time, nobody older than 25, which is what Sharangovich is.
Yeah.
I would be, I given his game, and like, he's not super physical, so I think he's got years in him.
Yeah.
I would be totally comfortable with 5 years with Sharangovich.
So that
Nothing
takes him
too
to
serious in
31 or 32.
that would take him to 30.
Well, if he's 25 now and then he's got another
Oh,
year left.
yeah, he's got another year, so I'd take him to 31.
Yeah. I think that's perfectly reasonable. 5, even 6 if he's 32. I
Mm-hmm.
think.
Yeah,
Yeah, I'd be totally happy with that. What are you thinking on money wise? If it's a 5 or 6 year deal, just spitballing here.
I mean, I feel like he's got to be 5.5 to 6.5, personally.
Yeah, I think 5.5 would be good.
Mm-hmm.
Would be really good. I'd be pumped. But I think that's a super team friendly deal. I think you're probably right. 6 to 6.2 or so would
Mm-hmm.
be great. Now, do you want to wait to see how he starts next year first, or do you want to get it done in the summer and just have it over with?
I don't know. I don't really buy into the, you got to get it done, got to get it done. I mean, like Craig is doing his job right. He'll know if the negotiations are going to go somewhere. You know what I mean? So I have no problem with them waiting
I
to
think he's got his
mid-season next year, but
finger on that stuff a lot better than Brad did.
I feel like it. I mean,
Yeah.
how could you not, right? Like,
I don't
I feel like my pets would have a better understanding of that concept, but
yeah.
fucking Brad. Yeah, I mean, if he can get it done this summer, awesome. If it drags into the season, I'm not going to worry about it. As
So I
long as
wasn't I didn't
by
mean so
by
much that.
Christmas.
I meant more like, do you want to wait and see how he starts next season before deciding that it's time to actually go through with a $6.5 million deal for 5 years, or would you be comfortable with it if it was done on July 1st?
I'd be comfortable with it.
Yeah, me too.
I would.
Yeah.
I get the sense that he's actually really liked in the locker room as well. I think that's the difference for me when it comes to the Sharangovich versus the Kuzmenko conversation. I don't know how he's perceived in the dressing room. I can't really get a sense of it. There's been a couple times where he scored where he's just kind of like, man, whatever, and the team doesn't really embrace him or doesn't seem to embrace him every once in a while when it comes to that. Where
Huh.
Sharangovich,
I got to keep
they
an eye
all
on.
just they swarm him, right?
Yeah.
Where they're obviously they're like the game against was it the Anaheim game where Sharon or where Kuzmenko scored the 2 goals? I think it was.
Yeah.
I think there was one of them that it just didn't feel right to me. Anyways, watching them, it just didn't seem right. But I mean, as far as ability, sure. I mean, I would be happy with them, um, extending him. I would be fine with it. I just don't know what I would want out of it. I don't know that I would want um,
Term.
the same term. So, and obviously not the same salary, right? But
I wouldn't
yeah, I
mind.
mean,
I wouldn't
it's
mind the
hard to
same
say.
salary if it was a short-term deal with Kuzmenko.
Hmm.
He's a little older, but he's got a lot less miles on him.
Yeah.
Just having only one, I guess now 2 seasons in the NHL. Um, I I'm kind of with you. Like I wouldn't. I mean, he's 28, I think. So that's kind of where the question about are you comfortable with doing it in the summer or do you want to see how he is to start next season came from with Sharon
Yeah.
Gold is I wouldn't be comfortable. I like Kuzmenko, but I wouldn't be
Hmm.
comfortable if I were Craig, you know, doing an extension for Kuzmenko in
Yeah.
the off season. I would want to wait until like 10, 15 games or
Hmm.
even longer into the season to see how he starts off and what we got right what we actually
Yeah.
have there. Whereas I think with Sharon Govich, if I were Craig, I would be all over trying to get him done this summer, like
Hmm.
all over it, right?
Hmm. Yeah, I agree. And I think personally, I think if Craig does that, it'll just show that he's wanted. He's a wanted member of the rebuild.
Yeah,
And I think it would be received well from Sharon Govich personally,
yeah. Um,
especially if he can get a 6 year. I mean, that would be or a 5 year. That would be awesome for him, right?
so going into the last thing I had to talk about, which actually kind of we started talking about a little bit already, but Kuzmenko's play since he got healthy, because I think he was sick for a couple weeks there, and they kept trying to play him, and then they couldn't really play him much because he wasn't feeling well, and then they put him on the fourth line, and he was getting not enough minutes and not good enough um, line mates to really do much with, and
Mhm.
probably didn't have much stamina because he was sick. And I think he was dealing with a little injury when he was in Vancouver. So his season, I think since he's come back from being sick and whatever injury he had seems to be gone, um, at least to the naked eye. I think he's played very well. He's drawing defenders in. He's
Mhm.
absolutely um, dynamic. Not all the time, but relatively often, and it's great to see, especially for a
Yeah.
player who was like a cap dump. Um,
Oh yeah.
and he's got like with Sharon Govich, he's got a lot of defensive prowess. Like I think Sharon
Hmm.
Govich is a defensively sound player. Maybe not elite, but he's defensively sound.
Hmm.
Um, Sharon Gov or sorry, Kuzmenko is defensively, except for that one time he stole the puck and scored a really nice goal.
That was pretty impressive.
That was very impressive. But that was also in the offensive end, right?
Yeah.
He's pretty non-existent defensively.
Yeah.
Um,
That might be the Russian in him.
yeah. I mean, it took the Caps how long to beat that out of Ovechkin? Like fucking 4 or 5 years, maybe even longer.
Yeah.
But that's part of the reason I wouldn't be so comfortable getting him extended right away. But
Yeah.
at the same
I agree. I want to see how he starts the year personally. After he's had a full summer off and time to think about what's going on, I would like to see what his mindset is, what he see what he produces.
yeah, he doesn't
I've
seem
been
like
pleasantly surprised with his playmaking ability, as well. Like I always just kind of thought of him as a shooter, but
sniper.
I'm
Yeah,
pretty comfortable with him carrying the puck as well.
me too. And he dangles people pretty good. He's got a little bit of speed to him. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I like him, but again, I'm just not sure. I do want to address the defensive thing though. Like the Flames have a bunch. I know it's hard to say right now because their defense hasn't been great, and I think that mostly comes from the back end. They've got an influx of defensive forwards.
Mm-hmm.
If they have one guy who's all offense, I do not care. I'm happy about it. It's fine. It wouldn't be good if there was several of them, but having one guy who's all offense is fine with me.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, I do.
You can shelter one guy.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, if you pair them up properly, you can shelter it.
Mm-hmm.
And that's who Hannafin was supposed to be, in my opinion, but it just never came, right?
Yeah.
I thought he was supposed to be, or transition into like an offensive dynamo, but he was just
Yeah.
mediocre at best at all times. So it's weird.
Yeah. Like I think he had a pretty good season this season, but
Mm-hmm.
whatever.
Yeah, exactly.
Um,
No, we've got a ton of uh of 4 to 7 defensemen.
we sure
Ton of
do. We've got way too many of them. And you know what? Like, I get it because we got rid of so many, we got rid of Tanev and Hannafin. And, you're not going to bring in guys who play the same amount of minutes and who are as effective if you're also getting draft picks. It just doesn't work that way.
Yeah.
So it's to be expected. Now, I'll bring up the list right now, but there's a ton of free agents coming up that are better than 5, 6, 7.
Hopefully.
Yeah. Well, definitely. Like there's 2 of them alone in Carolina. So there's it's weird how Cat Friendly does it. How they organize it. Alec Martinez, who is a perfectly fine like number 4, he's 36, so that's probably a little too old. Brady Shea is coming up. Brody's coming up. Hannafin's coming up. Zaitsev is coming up. Tanev's coming up. Hronek is going to be a RFA. Brett Pesci's coming up. He's only 29, so he would be my guy I would go after probably is Brett Pesci. But there's a few there, a few guys. Zadorov's coming up. I stay the fuck away from him. But Brandon Montour's coming up, who I think is a actual number 1 defenseman.
Yeah.
And like, not all these guys are going to make it to free agency, but I think that we need at least one top 4 defenseman next year, right?
Right.
I'm happy with Anderson, Uyghur, and Shillington, I guess, as a as a 1, 2, 4. We need a number 3, and then have a competition between Pahal and Hanley and Solovyov and Kuznetsov and Poirier and all those guys,
Yeah.
right? Have a healthy competition between all those guys, and Gilbert if he wants to come back, I guess. You know what I mean? I think that there's going to be a healthy competition for the 4 to 7 defensemen
Yeah.
in the preseason next year.
Yeah. See, that's like I don't want us to sign any defensive UFAs or forwards. To be honest, I feel like we have a lot that we want to have a look at next year. I think there needs to be, or I'm not saying needs to be, but I think potentially there's going to be 1 or 2 additional pieces coming out of the Wranglers next year. So I think moving into the season with re-upping Gilbert, have the conversation with Shillington, and as long as he's willing to not have his salary go up, I think that's a good conversation. We can bring him back in. He
Yeah.
needs he still needs a lot more to be an effective player, in my opinion, but is what it
Yeah, he
is.
was really good
I
when
think
he
that.
first came back, and he's had a pretty rough stretch over the last
Mhm.
3 weeks or so.
Yeah, 100%. But I think, like, given the situation where we're at, where we're just kind of in the starting phases of a retool slash rebuild. I don't I don't want to be bringing contracts in like whatsoever. Let's see what we have. Let's give them ice time against NHL players, and then we can start making decisions. But we can't make decisions unless we see them play at this level.
Fair enough. I think part of it for me is that the guys that we don't have
Mhm.
anybody who even really projects out to be a top 4 defenseman, like Pahal, Gilbert, Miramonov, I guess, is
Mhm.
maybe could,
Yeah.
but he's defensively a mess. But offensively, he's great. But
Mhm.
I think that bringing in those young guys, whether it be Kuznetsov or Solovyov, who actually just got called up, I'm excited to see how he's progressed
Yeah.
throughout the year since last time we saw him in
Mhm.
November, December, I think. Um, but all of those guys, like, you don't want to give those guys top 4 minutes right away, anyways, right? And I think that if you're going to do that, if you're going to bring those guys in, you're probably scratching a Pahal or a Miramonov or a um, Hanley or something like that, right? To get them in. And then you're still missing a number 3 or number 4 defenseman, right? Now,
Yeah.
I don't want to go crazy long term, but and I don't even mind if it's like a short term thing that with a handshake deal. I really want to do this with forwards, but I don't even mind if it's with a defenseman. You know, grab a free agent and do a handshake deal where it's like, okay, we know you want to win the Stanley Cup. Come in, be the body we need for 3/4 of the year, and then we'll trade you to a contender at the deadline. No, that type of thing.
Yeah. Yeah. My thought on that, like, we have Uyghur, we have Anderson, we will likely have Shillington.
Yeah.
We've got Mironov, Jesus, Mirror Monarch.
Yeah.
So that's 4 there. We've got Gilbert that I would think is going to get another contract. We've got Bahal, got Hanley, and then we've got a bunch of people trying to get jobs from the A. In my opinion, we have zero room for UFAs on defense.
I
Zero
just
room.
don't see any of those
Like,
guys being a top 4 caliber player. Any of them.
I don't
Not
I
even
don't
one.
I don't give it. I honestly don't give a shit. We're not at that phase at all. We're not going to be good enough to be competing anyways if we add a 3-4 to the lineup,
Nope. Nope. Which is
right?
why I'm
So,
saying
and
flip them
that's
at
why
the deadline.
I want these guys to figure their shit out and see who wants those minutes. We won't have a chance for any of these guys to get brought up if we sign a single defensive UFA.
I think we will. I also don't think that Craig is going to keep all these guys. I don't think that. No, I'm pretty sure Hanley and I know Gilbert's coming off, but I'm pretty sure Hanley and Pahal both have another year. But I don't think Craig is like, yo, I'm gonna keep seventh defenseman. I think he's probably gonna move one.
No, but that's the thing, right? Like these guys are 7th defensemen because of their age, right? And none of them are going to build into being a 3-4 if they have that potential, or a 1-2, whatever, without getting a chance to play. And so if we don't have a spot for them to play, then they're always going to be like that. And this is one thing the Flames have been doing for 20 fucking years, is players that need the chance to show what they can do, an actual stretch of games, we go and sign UFAs and we clog up, the positions. And then we don't have any room to bring these guys in. Now is the time to see what these fucking kids can do. Right?
If you think
Now is
so,
the
I
time.
just don't think any of the guys who actually have top 4 potential are going to be NHL ready for another year or two, anyways. Like Brustevich and Poirier and Morin and those guys. Like those guys are the guys who you want a space for in 2 years or 3 years because they still need a year or 2 or 3 in the AHL before they come up. And that's
I don't
my
know.
thing. I don't think it's
I
good
mean,
we're getting into it over this because I agree with you. They've done that to forwards and they've done that to defensemen for years, but those guys have actually been ready or close to ready to graduate. I don't think we have guys who are ready to graduate yet.
yeah. No, I mean that's fair, I guess, but I I just don't. I don't know. Like we've got these. Like we've got so many fucking defensemen right now, and to me it makes zero sense to sign another to just piss away any chance that these other kids might have. Right. That's my opinion.
Fair enough.
I
I
don't.
don't think you're pissing away
Mm.
much right now. Especially like again, I think Craig's going to trade probably Hanley and or Pahal or something, right? Like he's gonna. I don't think Gilbert's getting another contract. He hasn't played half the year, and not because he has been hurt. He missed some games because he was hurt, but he's been healthy and not playing because he's currently our 10th defenseman. You know what I mean? So I don't
Well,
think
that's
getting
my
another
point.
one. I
That
know,
is
but I don't
100%
think
my
he's
point.
coming
Right.
back. I think Craig's gonna trade those players or a couple of those players.
Yeah,
But
like Hanley's not coming back. I mean, why? Sorry, he's got another year.
he's got another
And
year, so does Pahal.
but he's 32, right? Like, so he's irrelevant. After his contract's done, he'll be sent out to pasture, and that's fine. But
Taken out
but
back.
then, yeah, you got Dennis. You got Gilbert, who's 27. Maramanoff is 26, right? Shellington is 26 for fuck's sake,
Do you
which
like
is just
Miramano?
crazy. I think he's okay.
Yeah.
I think defensively he shouldn't be on the ice at all.
Yeah. He reminds me
But
of
he's got a
fucking
great shot.
Goss
I'll give him that.
Despair, fucking D'Angelo, or players who are brought in just to quarterback a power play and then play 2 minutes of the rest of the game.
Right.
He's exciting to watch, but I don't know. If a lot of people are super pumped on him, I don't think he's got much of a future in Calgary, honestly. But
I mean, we signed him to a 2-year fucking contract.
yeah, 2 years until
Yeah.
those
I mean,
those other guys
not
start
much.
coming up.
1.25, so it's nothing, but
Yeah,
still.
yeah.
And that's like I don't know. I honestly think we would be doing any of the young guys a disservice if we go ahead and sign a UFA. Because
Fair
to
enough.
me that just shows exactly what Conroy's been doing. It's exactly what Feaster did. If we got that piece, we might. I mean, I don't give a shit if they are good enough to play 3-4. I don't care. If they're not, whatever, right? Like is what it is. I'm not expecting to be in the playoff next year.
I'm not
So
either.
I want these guys to either show what they can have, or show what they are and excel, or show what they are not, so we know. And I think next year is the perfect time to do that, because next year, in my opinion, is a nothing year, and I think that's when you want to do it. And then you start building your
It
plan.
should be a throwaway, I
Right?
think. But
Because if you sign UFAs, then you're not going to know any of that for another 2, 3, 4 years. You don't know if you need to add a 3-4, right? You're
something
just gonna you're
rebuilding
just
teams
gonna
do
hope
is
that
sign
that
UFAs
they
and
do.
flip them.
Yeah, for just to reach the salary floor. I get that, but we're not.
No,
I don't think we're going to be strapped on that.
no. I mean, to get more picks, they sign like
Right.
was it Anaheim did with Klingberg? You know, things like that. You sign Brett Pesce. You're like, hey man, you're playing for us for half a year, 3/4 of a year, and then we're trading you to whoever's whoever needs a defenseman and thinks that that's the last piece they need. You know, get a second round pick out of you, get a first round pick out of you, get a
Right.
third and a prospect. I don't know, but that's what I'm looking at, and I'm also looking at having a body there, because as much as you're not sold on Wolf, I'm not sold on Wolf. I'm higher on him than you are, but I'm not sold on him. I still don't think that it's healthy to constantly have a young developing goalie being shelled every fucking night because there's nobody in front of him.
I mean, what are they experiencing right now?
Exactly.
Well, they're
He
not
faced
getting killed right
45
now. That's what I'm
shots
saying.
and like fucking the other night, I think, and he, I don't know, it seemed like half of them were high dangers, you know what I mean? And he did fine, like he played okay that game, but you can't have, you know, you can't have your goalie being shelled every single night. Even if you're rebuilding, I think that's how I look at it.
Yeah, no, that's fair. But I mean, it was the one game, right? Like, I don't know. Like, what do we have for shots for these? Yeah, 27, 20. Like,
I think it was the
I don't know.
Anaheim game. He's faced 45. I think
Yeah, that was the Jets 45 shots.
Jets. Okay, yeah.
But it's not. But it's not normal, right? We're not normally giving up that many shots. We're normally around the 30 mark, which is kind of league average.
That's pretty fair. I feel like that's also probably. I'd actually be curious to look at it because I don't know, but I feel like we let more high dangers. But I don't know for sure. I'd have to.
I think the fan 960 will tell you that just to justify shitty goaltending.
I don't really
I'm
know,
only kidding.
honestly. Probably, but
I'm only kidding.
I know. And honestly, I don't think Wolf has been shitty. I think he's been average.
I don't think he's been shitty either. I just don't think he's been all that good, and people should pull back on the reins a little bit.
No, I agree. I agree on that. Well, that was fun to get into it over that. Not often we have a big difference of opinion like that, but
Yeah.
was there anything else you wanted
More.
to talk about, or you want to keep going on that, or shall we?
No. That I mean, I'm a passive man now. I've grown, and so that took a lot out of me.
It's funny because when we first met on the Flames Hub and Facebook, there we were at each other's throats for like a full year before we were like, actually, I kind of like this guy.
Yeah, and so I think we both decided to go for the long con, right?
Yeah. All right. Well, curious what everybody thinks about specifically. I think about Zary at center, also about the Sharangovich contract. Let us know in the comments section down below.
Yeah.
Let us know what you're excited about with the upcoming draft, which we'll get into as the season winds down and as the playoffs are going on. I think it's too soon to get into that on the podcast too much, but let us know what you're excited about as far as the rest of the season goes, who you're excited to see, whether it's Solovyov, Wolf, whatever. Like the video, YouTube, subscribe on your favorite podcast listener, and follow us on X, ArmChair GM _pod, and follow us on Facebook, all that good stuff. Thanks for joining, and have a fantastic day. Go Flames, go. Hopefully we can finish out the season. Ottawa, Montreal, and Arizona can all get a few more points and pass us, and we can draft in the 6-7-ish range. That would be great.
Go Flames. Team Tank.
Go Flames, go.